After almost a billion short-form views, I've realized that hypnotizing your viewers and standing out in a feed full of AI videos isn't that complex. Your only real competition are those thirst trap dances. It also doesn't matter what video editing software you use or what niche you create for. There's 6 simple principles that make any video tickle that part of your brain that keeps people watching. I even created a checklist and had my entire team tape it to their walls. It made sure the content not only looked good, but is a piece of work that they're actually proud of creating. And this video is the expanded version of that checklist where we'll break down each principle and understand why they're so important to the viewer. They're also timed with general editing stages, so we'll have an easy one first and then the later ones will really help you stand out. Principle number 1, quality. Remember when 720p was the holy grail of quality? It was the standard for almost a decade, but in a blink of an eye, every device now seems to be 1440p or 4K. Hell, I even see 8K now. But as resolution rises, your job gets harder. We'll need better camera gear, beefier PCs, and even sourcing good 4K footage is a pain. But going through all the effort is the key to a good brand. Having low-quality clips mixed in with high-quality footage will stick out like pea on snow. So when possible, always source the highest resolution available, because your brand is the sum of all the tiny details. Principle number 2, proportions. Now here's something that separates amateurs from seasoned vets. At high-end restaurants, the presentation of food is as important as the taste. In our case, the presentation of an idea is as important as the value itself. While chefs have plates, we have a blank vertical screen to work with. We take into account the app's UI, how text size will look in the whole composition, the framing of our A-roll, the size of assets, and our inclusion of negative space. Video editors eventually need to develop an eye for design. While traditional designers work on a single still frame, editors work on thousands of still frames, but they use the same principles. So our team always makes sure every single frame, if taken out of context, would be a design worth looking at in isolation. Principle number 3, show, don't tell. I'm sure you've heard this before, but when and how do you actually show instead of tell? You see, 65% of the world are visual learners, so if the concept is basic, even a simple talking head with captions will do. But if there's a complex idea with multiple parts and interconnected relationships, you'll have to get creative, because if they can't process your information, they're swiping. How you show will differ depending on your market, theme, and brand. Generally, you want to distill complexity into single thoughts the viewer can process a couple seconds at a time. Go too slow and your video gets boring. Go too fast and your video gets confusing. Both result in viewers swiping away. So you'll have to experiment to find your distillation pace, which changes from market to market. Principle number 4, focus. When you think about when people consume short-form content, it's usually at a relaxing time or a time where they turn their brain off, depending on the market. So the visuals in your frame have to guide their minds through the video instead of overwhelming it and causing confusion on where to look and what to listen to. There should always be a clear focus in each frame of the video. If it's a talking head, having captions too big, too colorful, or with too much animation takes away from the main focus, which is the individual speaking. Assets assist, they don't demand the spotlight. Think in terms of hierarchy. In a short-form scene, what is the primary focus and secondary focus? How can you make sure the primary focus is clearly the primary focus? You can do that with increasing size, adding color, and limiting motion around the subject. You can do a simple eye test by watching a section and tracking where your eyes go. If it's moving around too much, you'll have to go in and readjust. If it's not moving at all, you'll need to add in some motion. This is what people mean when they say engaging content. It doesn't mean sensory overload 24/7. It's calculated switches from the primary and secondary focus. The seamless switching is what causes our mind to engage. Principle number 5, balance. When things are off visually, we can't quite explain it, but it's just this weird uneasy feeling we get. Or maybe it's just me, but asymmetry, not used on purpose, makes short-form content feel less immersive and harder to watch. Your screen can be cut into quadrants, and everything in each quadrant increases its weight. Having text all the way to the right, so close to the edges and misaligned throws off the balance. Instead, you want everything to be pretty much centered most of the time. Or if you're using multiple assets on screen at once, you'll have to rearrange them so the quadrants are balanced, mainly because the safe area in most apps look like this. Principle number 6, Unity. This is the hardest principle to master because developing an eye for Unity just takes a lot of reps. I think of video editors as experienced architects. They combine clips, sound, colors, and motion to create an experience for a viewer. Every element of the video looks and feels like it belongs. This is generally determined by the branding of the page and the target audience. So for example, let's say you're choosing to create something a bit more cinematic. Your track choice, caption colors, clip selection, and almost every creative element will have a darker tone to things. Imagine if you're creating something cinematic and you get the music right, but the clip is super bright, the caption colors are pink, and the font itself is too fun. Your video isn't unified. We always hear the term clean when describing a video, but what does clean actually mean? I believe it's the combination of these 6 principles that give off the feeling of clean and immersiveness, that not only separates you from the feed visually, but separates you in terms of the feeling viewers remember you by. I've linked the checklist below for free, so next time you're about to export, just run through it. If you're new, my name's Nishane and I run a content studio focused on creating organic short-form content for brands, businesses, and professionals. Hope you enjoyed today's video and hope to see you in the next one.